The realm. Do you know what the realm is? It's the 1,000 blades of Aegon's enemies. A story we agree to tell each other over and over till we forget that it's a lie.
What's up, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome back for another Game of Thrones Season 8 video. Today I want to take the time to focus entirely on what looks to be an incredible battle in Winterfell. There is a lot of new information about this battle that I would like to cover because it does give us some insight into what it took to make this battle come to life. Not only did we get some glimpses of this in the new trailer, but Entertainment Weekly released a cover story that went into great detail about this battle. Hopefully, some of you find this to be as interesting as I did. I don't want to read the entire article from Entertainment Weekly, but I would like to discuss certain sections of it. You can find the link down below if you would like to read the entire thing for yourself. Now, the first thing I want to do is just kinda set the stage for the battle in Winterfell. I want to talk about all of the different things we could see at the battle. Now, as we all know, the Night King is currently south of the Wall, and he's slowly making his way down Westeros. As I have said in videos before, the Night King will most likely attack some of the other castles in the north before he makes it to Winterfell. I think he will do this for two different reasons. One reason is because the Night King will obviously want to make his army bigger. By attacking those other smaller targets first, the Night King can easily add more soldiers to his army. This will also slow down the Night King just long enough for everyone to get set up in Winterfell. This should keep all of us waiting in suspense. Now, when it comes to Winterfell, it has been one of the central locations of the story. This house has been here ever since the Long Night ended, roughly 8,000 years ago. There is also a very good chance the Night King has a deep connection to the house. In the books, Old Nan said that she believed the Night King is a Stark, who very well could have slept in the very same bed as Bran Stark. I believe the Night King has had his eyes set on taking Winterfell for a very long time. There is even some evidence that may suggest the crypts of Winterfell contain either the first Night's King or even the Night's Queen. Now, besides the Night King's mysterious connection to the castle, we also know this is where almost all of the main characters will be located next season. The Night King actor recently sat down for an interview, and during that interview, he said we will find out the Night King has a very specific target next season. According to the actor, this is a target that he wants to kill. Now, we all have our guesses on who we think this target could be. We have seen the Night King and Jon Snow have two very tense moments in previous seasons. We have also seen Daenerys Targaryen attack the Night King with her dragons, and some fans have always thought that the birth of the dragons could have been what caused the Night King to return. As we all know, the Night King has already taken one of Dany's dragons, and he did try to kill another one right when she took off on Drogon. So maybe the Night King wants to get all of the dragons, but we also know there is one other character that has a very close connection to the Night King. That character is Bran Stark. As we all know, the Night King was able to grab Bran when they were both inside of a vision inside of the weirwood net. When the Night King did this, he did leave a mark on Bran Stark's arm. That allowed the Night King to know the exact location of Bran, and that also allowed the Night King to enter that location even if it was protected by magic. Now, we don't know for a fact if Bran Stark still has that mark on his arm or not. The Night King might still be able to find Bran's exact location because of that. That's just one of the many reasons why I think Bran Stark is the Night King's target. Now, the interesting thing is, all of these characters will be in Winterfell at the same time. Regardless of which character the Night King wants, Bran Stark, Jon Snow, and Daenerys Targaryen will all be there by the end of the first episode. So if any of you were wondering why the Night King wants to attack Winterfell, his motivation could come from some of the things I just mentioned. Now let's get into which characters we know will be here during the battle. As of right now, we know of Jon Snow, Daenerys Targaryen, Sansa Stark, Arya Stark, Gendry, Bran Stark, Samwell Tarly, Tyrion Lannister, Davos Seaworth, Podrick Payne, Jorah Mormont, Grey Worm and Missandei, Gilly her baby, Varys, Jaime Lannister, Brienne of Tarth, and Sandor Clegane. Based on what we saw in the new trailer, these are the characters we could see were at Winterfell next season. We saw some of them lining up on the battlefield, some of them were fighting, some of them were making weapons, and some of them were even hiding down in the crypts of Winterfell. That is an insane amount of characters to be fighting in the same battle. Now, we also saw Lord Commander Dolorous Edd, Tormund Giantsbane, and Beric Dondarrion in the trailer. It wasn't entirely clear where these characters were, but I can almost guarantee they will be fighting in that battle as well. Now, there are a handful of other characters that could show up, but I just want to go off of who we know will be there based on the footage from the trailer or the article written by Entertainment Weekly. As of right now, I would say it's safe to confirm that these characters will be there during the attack. Now, just besides these characters we know by name, there will also be some rather large armies fighting here too. Obviously, we know that Jon Snow's northern armies will be there, but we also know Dany's armies are there as well. From the trailer, we can see the Unsullied getting ready for battle. We can also see some of the Dothraki soldiers riding on their horses right behind Jorah Mormont. Thanks to the trailer, we can also confirm the Knights of the Vale will be here as well. You can see several other soldiers in formation right behind Brienne and Podrick. This is already shaping up to be one hell of a battle just based on who we know will be there. This is like an all-star lineup of characters, unlike anything we have ever seen before. Now, there are some X factors I think I should mention, although this is complete speculation. We know that Melisandre said she was heading to Volantis last season, but she did tell Varys she would return one last time. Why Melisandre actually went to Volantis is still a mystery, but there is a very good chance she went to go get the Fiery Hand, a group of slave soldiers from the Red Temple of R'hllor. As we all know, Melisandre has always talked about the darkness coming to take over Westeros. This is something we have heard her refer to ever since she first appeared in the show. Melisandre has been waiting for this day for a very long time. In fact, the last time she spoke to Jon Snow, she told him she could help him defeat the Night King. Melisandre was also the one that suggested Daenerys should meet with Jon Snow, and like she said last season, she has brought Ice and Fire together. Well, now that the Night King has invaded Westeros, there is no way in hell that Melisandre shows up in Westeros empty-handed. If I were you, I would expect to see Melisandre during the battle in Winterfell. Another X factor has to do with Jaime Lannister. I don't think he's going to show up in Winterfell empty-handed either. Not only could he show up with Bronn, but he might also stop at a few places along the way. He could stop at either Riverrun or even the Twins. Just in case any of you forgot, Edmure Tully is Catelyn Stark's brother, which makes him Sansa, Arya, and Bran Stark's uncle. Now that Walder Frey is no longer in charge of the twins, Edmure might be able to get set free. Jaime Lannister could be the one that lets him out, and together they could rally as many soldiers from the Riverlands as they can. Not only would that help during the fight against the Night King, but it could also give Jaime some leverage when he shows up in Winterfell without any help from Cersei. Now, I'm already sure that the Starks will send out some more Ravens now that the Night King is invading, but maybe Jaime does this since he is already heading in that direction. We also know that Theon Greyjoy is out there somewhere too. Now, it's hard to say if he will make it back to Winterfell in time, but he could always show up with some extra men as well. We also cannot forget about Meera and Howland Reed. These two could be X factors. It's kinda hard to say how many men they could actually have at their disposal. Howland Reed is already known to be a mysterious character, but the thing about him that intrigues me the most is the fact that he has spent time at the God's Eye. This is a very magical location that still may be inhabited by some of the Children of the Forest, as well as some of the Green Men that guard it. According to Old Nan, the Green Men ride on elks and they sometimes even have antlers. Now imagine if the Reeds were able to show up with some of the Green Men and some of the Children of the Forest. The children could show up launching some of their little fireballs like we've seen them do before. However, we did not see any signs of that happening in the trailer, so none of this extra stuff I mentioned is confirmed as of right now, but I just thought I should mention it because you never really know what might happen next season. After all, this is said to be one of the greatest battles in cinematic history. Now, unfortunately for all of these characters, they have to face one of the greatest threats Westeros has ever known. Now I want to take a look at what the Night King has in his army. We don't know exactly how many dead the Night King has in his army, but during the Dragon Pit scene last season, Daenerys Targaryen said she believes the Night King had 100,000 whites. Since Daenerys Targaryen did get a bird's eye view of the Night King's army, I will take her word for it. Another thing we don't know is how many White Walkers the Night King still has. According to Craster, he said that he had 99 sons.
You have one son, don't you, Moment? I had my 99th. You ever meet a man with 99 sons?
Now, if we assume that Craster sacrificed all of those sons, then we can assume at one time there might have been 99 White Walkers. The most amount of White Walkers we have ever seen at one time is 14 in total. When we saw the Night King turn one of Craster's sons into a White Walker, we could see that there were already 12 White Walkers standing behind the Night King. Then you have to include the Night King himself, who is the baddest White Walker of them all, and of course you have to add the baby the Night King turned into a White Walker during the scene. but there could potentially be over 90 of them still left because we have only seen a couple of them die. Samwell Tarly killed one, Mira Reed killed one, and Jon Snow has been able to kill 2 of them so far. Out of the 99 sons Craster said he had, we have only seen 4 of those sons die, which means the Night King could have roughly 95 White Walkers left. Now, besides the Whites and the White Walkers, we also know the Night King has giants in his army. At the beginning of Season 7, we were able to get a good view of the Night King's army. During that scene, we could see at least 3 giants marching with the rest of the soldiers. We have all seen what kind of an advantage you can have when you have a giant in your army. Now imagine if you had 3 of them. Just one of those giants could open up the gates at Winterfell to allow the rest of the army inside. Another thing we saw in the Night King's army last season was a snow bear. Now we all know that Jorah Mormont was able to kill the bear when he stabbed it with the dragonglass dagger, but that might not be the only animal the Night King has in his army. The Night King could have more bears, direwolves, shadow cats, and God knows what else. The Night King can essentially resurrect just about anything that died beyond the wall, or anything he comes across as he makes his way down to Winterfell. The Night King's army will continue to grow until someone puts a stop to him. And on top of all of this, the Night King now has a dragon added to his arsenal. Since the Night King has control over Viserion, he now has the ability to do drone strikes wherever the hell he wants. Now luckily for all the characters in Winterfell, Daenerys Targaryen still has 2 dragons of her own. Jon Snow was also able to get enough dragonglass to arm just about everyone fighting in the battle. There were some glimpses of this in the new trailer. We could see piles and piles of dragonglass where Gendry was working in the forges. We could already see that someone gave Arya Stark a dragonglass dagger, although she does already have a Valyrian steel dagger thanks to Bran Stark. Dany's Unsullied army is also using new dragonglass weapons as well. You can see it on the end of their spears. It even looks like the edges of their shields are wrapped in dragonglass too. So, even though the Night King may have a very big army that continues to grow, Jon and Daenerys do have the right weapons to defeat them. Now when it comes to the Whites, which makes up the majority of the Night King's army, we have seen 3 different types of weapons kill them. We know they can be killed by fire. There have been examples of this dating all the way back to the first season. We also know the Whites can be killed by dragonglass as well. Jon Snow demonstrated this last season at the Dragon Pit. And thanks to the mission Beyond the Wall, it now looks like the Whites can be killed by Valyrian steel too. This was the weapon Jon was using when he went to capture the White. Now when it comes to the White Walkers, which are created by Craster's sons, we have only seen 2 different types of weapons kill them. We have seen 2 different White Walkers get killed by dragonglass, thanks to Samwell Tarly and Mira Reed. Then we saw Jon Snow kill 2 other White Walkers with his Valyrian steel sword. As of right now, it doesn't look like fire can kill the White Walkers because we have seen them walk right through fire on a number of different occasions. We have even seen the Night King walk right through the dragon fire beyond the wall. Now Daenerys should be able to kill most of the Whites with her dragons from the sky, but in order to kill the White Walkers and maybe even the Night King, they're going to have to get up close and personal in order to do this. That is, of course, unless they were able to use a bow and arrow. Now as of right now, there are only a handful of Valyrian steel weapons left. As we all know, Jon Snow has a Valyrian steel sword called Longclaw. Arya Stark has a Valyrian steel dagger known as the Cat's Paw. Brienne Tarth has a Valyrian steel sword called Oathkeeper, given to her by Jaime Lannister. Samwell Tarly took his family's ancestral Valyrian steel sword called Heartsbane, although now it looks like Ser Jorah Mormont may be using that sword during the battle. And of course, since Joffrey and Tommen are both dead, Jaime Lannister now has the Valyrian steel sword Widow's Wail. Since these are the characters that have the Valyrian steel weapons, we will most likely see them go up against most of the White Walkers. The faster you can take out the White Walkers, the faster you can take out all the Whites. Last season we found out that every time you kill a White Walker, you can also kill all of the Whites he was commanding. That's a very valuable piece of information. If they can somehow get to the White Walkers or the Night King fast enough, then we could start to see very large groups of Whites die simultaneously. The only problem is, this will not be an easy task. The episode is expected to be the longest consecutive battle sequence ever committed to film, and brings the largest number of major characters together since the show's debut. This final face-off between the army of the dead and the army of the living is completely unprecedented and relentless in a mixture of genres even within the battle. There are said to be sequences built within sequences built within sequences. Now, the one thing about this battle that will be very interesting is the way we get to see it unfold. If you remember the Battle of the Bastards, we saw most of the battle through the eyes of Jon Snow. That was the character we followed throughout the battle, but that will not be the case for the battle in Winterfell. Since there are so many major characters fighting at the same time, the camera will move around from character to character during some of the most intense moments of the battle. This will actually be the very first time we have seen Arya Stark fight in a battle, which is kinda crazy because we have seen her training the most. The director of the episode, Miguel Sapochnik, called Maisie Williams a year before the filming even begun. He told her to start training for her scenes immediately because what she will be doing is very difficult. We even got a small taste of this in the new trailer. It sounds like Arya Stark will be kicking some major ass during the battle. Now, it says when the director was getting ready to start filming the episode, he tried to find a longer battle sequence in cinema history, but it says he couldn't. The closest thing that he could find was the nearly 40-minute Helm's Deep siege in The Lord of the Rings, which he did study. So it sounds like this will be the longest battle in not only television history, but cinematic history as well. Now, another interesting thing they did was they expanded the Winterfell set. Jacob Anderson, who is Grey Worm in the show, had said, "The Winterfell set is unlike anything I have ever seen in my life. You can walk into rooms and cross into tunnels and find yourself in another part of the castle. It's really immersive. Especially when there is haze and snow and people running around. You can get genuinely lost." There were a few moments where I forgot it wasn't real, which is bizarre. From what we can see in the new trailer, it looks like the battle will be absolutely insane. There will be dead bodies littered across the entire battlefield. There will be dragons fighting it out in the sky, with the heroes of the battle defending the castle on the ground. Visibility should be at a minimum. Not only is this battle taking place at night, but it's also snowing, and there will be smoke everywhere due to all the fires. Since there are dragons in this battle, and we know fire kills the whites, we can almost guarantee Winterfell will be burnt. How bad it will be burnt is still anyone's guess, but we can see there is fire all across the entire set. With the Night King having a dragon in the sky, and roughly 100,000 whites fighting on the ground, and giants most likely knocking down the gates, our main characters will not be able to hold them off forever. The army of the dead will eventually make it up over the castle walls, and even into the castle where we see them chasing Arya Stark. When you have this many main characters fighting in the same battle at the same time, you can pretty much guarantee that some of our beloved heroes will lay dead in the snow by the time the smoke clears. When Entertainment Weekly wrote this big cover story about the final season of Game of Thrones, they started it off by talking about the aftermath of the battle in Winterfell. I want to end this video by telling you what it says. The great battle is over. The snowy ground is streaked with blood. Beloved heroes lay dead outside of the castle gates. Winterfell is quiet.